Dude, we are talking episode 10, but I'm just really not hungry anymore. I couldn't even finish my burger tonight because all the Applebee's I ate before coming on the podcast, dude.
Yeah, you know, the past week was like Passover, so like I had to have some meal restrictions, and my stomach got a lot smaller during that time. And when I started being able to eat again, I just couldn't eat it all. I had to leave it by the wayside.
Dude, do you think that this was the like? I mean, we've obviously had Applebee's jokes and Applebee's references throughout Survivor. Do you think this was like the biggest Applebee's commercial as far as like length of like bang for your buck? Obviously, they're paying a lot of money to sponsor it, and you had everyone going on a tangent about Applebee's.
These people know what will get them screen time is talking up Applebee's.
Yeah,
you cannot tell me that, like, I'm not even a spinach artichoke person. Like, I'm not a fan of that dip, but like, you can't tell me that it's like, oh, I need to have that on the weekly basis. And the one place I'll go that has the best dip is Applebee's. Like, I'm sorry. Like, most likely I'll never be on Survivor. But so I can sort of speak a little more freely here. Because I feel like they wouldn't like a contestant like shitting on their products or their advertisers. But I'm like, almost everything out of Applebee's is made in a microwave.
Yeah.
Like, it ain't that good.
Yeah.
Like, at least give me some Outback or something. Give me some Texas Roadhouse. Like, get me some of that, and then you would see me having a tantrum like Liz if you deprived me of the Texas Roadhouse rolls and cinnamon butter.
Ooh, yeah, that stuff is pretty good. We get that from time to time. We'll get like a carry out. They have like this family meal for like $40, and they give you like a whole huge thing of those rolls and that cinnamon butter.
Yeah, we just did that to break our fast, and cool. I was just like, I got it the day before though, so it's my face this giant bag of like 10 Texas Roadhouse rolls. I'm just like, oh man. I
love it
right now.
I love it. Like, so we're in episode we're in episode 10. And
yes, we are.
It's finally week after week I'm thoroughly entertained by the episodes. I'm like, you know what? This isn't seem like super terrible. There's some people I like, there's some people that I dislike. And I know that we have talked a little bit. Everyone has their opinion of Q, and there's people in the chat. We have some people saying Team Q, and we have some people saying Q is a terrible player. So
both can be true.
True, exactly. That's the beauty of Survivor. I like Q. I feel that he completely, like, episodes back, just when he was like, vote me out. I feel like he shot himself in the foot, and we discussed on the podcast, like, no way he's winning, right? So the fact that he's still in the game right now is just a matter of time before Q goes. He's not making it even to the finals.
And even if he does, and like Jeff brings up a good point at Tribal Council, it's like, and we'll get there when we talk about Tribal, because I wasn't a huge fan of the antics from Jeff in this one, because it felt very, very leading instead of trying to direct the conversation. He was like, I'm leading this conversation. But he brought up a good point of, there's a certain point in this game where it's more helpful for people to actually just keep Q in and not even use them as a fake out of, I want you out. Like, no, I want you at the end, because do you see what Q did today? Do you think he's managing a jury at Final Tribal Council? Yeah, you think he's gaining votes through his speeches? No.
Do you think Q is one of those players? Do you think Q is a player that if he played a second time, that it would be a completely different Q? Or do you think he would be doing the same thing? It's like, you know what I mean? Do you think he'd be like, oh, God, I wasted my first time? Like,
it's hard to tell, because it's like, I feel there's a lot of people, and Matt, like, you've been in the Survivor circles, like, and you've seen returnee seasons of people that when they go back on. And I feel like you get one of two things. or actually you get three things. You have someone who just plays the exact same way no matter how many times you put them on the island.
Mm-hmm.
You have the person who dramatically changes their game and plays better
Yeah.
or worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the person who comes in and they're like, I'm going to do what brought me to the dance and become a caricature of myself. Like you'll have Q coming back and just like trying to re-hype in all of his confessionals, like the big mistake, cancel Christmas, like just doing all of the slogans instead of truly being there to be like, no, I need to advance my game. What can I do to be better? I would like to think he would, the competitor in him would come back a second time and be like, no, there are things I need to adjust, but like still be Q.
Yeah, right. Now, do you think, I mean, there's all this speculation of, season 50, Jeff Probst has just claimed over the last week that it's going to be a returning player season. And, could be old school players, new school players. Do you think that Q will be getting the phone call at least for a season 50 as a returnee?
In my opinion, he should be on the list
Mm-hmm.
of people that you are considering the call from New
Yeah.
Era, because let's be real, we're talking like they're saying, oh, we're open to everybody. It's going to be a majority of New Era because that's what they want to hype up. Like, they're gonna put on some people like your Devons, your Christian Hubickies, like those type of players, and maybe your Lauren Ashley Beck, if they are even interested in the 26-day format of it all, so that they can be put on here, get taken out by people who are the New Eras, so that Jeff and production say, see, look how good these New Era players are. They took out your favorites from before pre-40.
Yeah. Well, I think
Q would be on my list.
Yeah, Q would be on my list as well. And I know, love him or hate him, Q would be on the list for a phone call. If anything, it would be just, for them to just be like, look, this guy is going to completely blow something up, screw something up. He's unpredictable. And that's what I think Jeff likes, is the unpredictability. So the episode starts off, Hunter is gone, and Liz trying to hold her composure. She says people are a bunch of hoe bags because she was kind of not in the loop of what was going on. This is the most Liz that we have seen thus far this season. This episode was like the Liz episode.
And I think it also really shows, I feel like this was an important episode to be like and this is why Liz won't win episode. Because like through the course of this episode, you have her blow-ups in a very, very out in front way. Just the bluntness of like, I can't work with you. Our games will never align. But also the thing that she's mad about with Q is her game being blown up, even though she got the results she wanted, but she didn't get the glory of the move. It was overshadowed by Q and his antics. To then go into this episode where she has the potential, and I'll break it down when we get to the back half of this podcast, of what a move that could have been made that gives her everything she wanted at the Tevin vote and more. But she chooses to be a follower to a plan instead. And I don't care what any fan says. It's like, well, you can always change the narrative at Final Tribal Council. You can say it was really her move. Like, she was able to look past the fact that she hates Q's guts and vote Tiff out. No, you were a follower. You don't get credit for that vote. There's 4 people in that vote that know you aren't the leader of that vote and won't vote for you at the end for it.
No, I completely agree with you. So we see here too that Tiffany, she's tired of the drama and the chaos with Q. Wants Q out, and then Maria kind of starts talking with Q, wanting to make sure Q is okay, giving him some reassurance that she has got his back and she is on his side. This episode, I feel, was a great episode for Maria. Early on, when she found the idol, I was like, wow, she's really killing it. The whole first scene with Jelinski on episode 1, of Maria calling him out and stuff like that. Then we didn't, I was like, wow, Maria's a big player. Then we didn't really see a whole lot of Maria in the grand scheme of things. But man, her and Charlie together, I really love the two of them. And I thought Maria was badass tonight. I mean, what is your thoughts after tonight on Maria's gameplay?
It's twofold. Because I'll agree with you. I think Maria was badass for she wanted a move done. She put in work and then some to ensure that it happened. She got someone who was on a full-blown warpath of the only name I will write down is Q. The only letter in the alphabet I know how to spell is Q. That's the only thing I know what to do in my life is voting Q, and she got her to flip and vote Tiffany.
Right.
So that part's good. Her and Charlie still being able to be this duo, and at least for the narrative of this show, no one is really clocking it like hardcore of like, oh, those are two, that's a problem. And that's part of my issue. I'm like, she's doing these things this round where I'm like, if you don't see it now, like Kenzie, I need to see you next week's episode being like, oh, Maria's a power player. She all these times she's been going to Q, we've been just thinking she's just consoling him. No, she's been using him, stroking that ego and making sure he's aligned to her. He's her puppet now. She needs to go. And that's the only thing I'm concerned about for her is after this vote, is it now going to click to some people of, oh, we can't just let Maria be Maria anymore. Maria's now the threat, and Maria now needs to go. Which is perfect for Charlie. It's perfect for Charlie, even though I'm sure he has no intentions of voting Maria out.
Right.
But getting Maria on that jury would do a whole lot of good for him.
It would. That's a great point. So we see, Q's strategy at this point is, look, I got to win immunity. And he says in a confessional, trust me, I'm not out of this game. So it's kind of like early on in this episode, foreshadowing, like, we see a lot of people wanting Q, talking about Q, but Q being like, nope, it's not me going right now. And so when you see the whole episode play out, it's pretty interesting. Maria wants to keep Q in the game. And then the next morning, we see Maria, Kenzie, and Charlie talking, and it's like talking about Kenzie is like, look, she wants to vote out her number one, which is Tiff, because she knows that at some point Tiff is going to turn on Kenzie. But the thing is Kenzie becomes kind of wishy-washy with this plan to vote out Tiff. And as we see how it ends up playing out, Kenzie kind of backtracked on her wanting to vote out Tiff and being totally shocked and blindsided, which goes back to your point of Kenzie being on a warpath against Maria for pulling this move out.
Right. And I think that I don't think her warpath is going to be like Liz levels of I'm shouting at people for incoherent reasons. But I think this is a blessing for Kenzie. Like, I had a friend text me being like, oh, this puts Kenzie in such a bad spot. And I'm like, it does and it doesn't. Because I think Kenzie's strongest point has always been her social game.
Yeah.
They didn't tell Kenzie just because they're like, well, she's just so close to Tiffany. It wasn't, oh, we want to blindside Kenzie and also not work with Kenzie moving forward. And she can use that. Like, her and Ben are still like a thing that they highlighted in the past and something that I think is going to show up, like show its head again within these last few episodes as like a big good, like a big positive thing for her. Yeah. I thought it was ludicrous for her to want to vote out Tiffany, saying like the resume move is to vote out your number one. And that's not the move. The move is to have your number one get taken out and you get to keep your hands clean of it.
Yeah.
And so not through your own doing, but through luck and other people strategizing around you, you now get to have Tiffany on the jury and she doesn't get to be bitter towards you for betraying her trust because you ultimately decided I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, tonight I know Kinsey may or may not have been at Johnny Fairplay and King George's viewing party in Charlottesville, which is exactly where Dan Monchel is right now. But it would have been interesting to be in a room if you were able to with Kenzie to watch this episode. I like Kenzie. I think
I
she's
love her.
Entertaining. I hope she stays in this game. And it's I have a feeling that even if Kenzie would have voted for Tiff, I think those two are going to be friends for life. Even watching this back,
I think they have a conversation, but then after that, they're good. Like I think it's a little different than how some of the other people have like gone at each other, especially just like what I know you haven't seen it, but what just seeing how people have been moving on social media this season. I also saw a theory that they put the season 50 out there so that they could work around people like almost explicitly breaking their NDAs.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. So we're now to the reward challenge. Everyone shows up for the reward challenge, and Jeff Probst is like, "Wow, you guys are all looking really small. Everyone's skinny. Their clothes are kind of falling off of them." And this is the perfect segue for him to say, "Look, you all are looking skinny, but guess what? It is Applebee's feast at the sanctuary." And this is where we go literally into a 45-minute Applebee's commercial because we see that Liz every Wednesday will go with her daughter to Applebee's, get this whiskey bourbon burger type deal, and then they watch Survivor. So this is like a really cool thing that Liz is excited about. Wow, I'm here playing Survivor. All my loved ones are going to be watching me on TV. And I'm going to win this thing, and I'm going to win this burger. And we see her desperation of, not having eaten. And when I was watching this play out, I'm thinking to myself, like, if you are allergic to most everyday normal foods, which we find out that Liz is, I really don't feel sorry for you if you're not eating. Because if you're choosing to go on Survivor, and you have these issues, it's your own fault for going on the show. I mean, it's going to suck. People that think Survivor is a game where they give you blankets and they give you all this stuff to make your experience easier, that is false. Survivor, when I was in the Philippines for Survivor Caramoan, it was like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life, dude.
And you got rewards on you guys like in the 39-day format, at least. Like you, for the most part, you guys got like starting supplies. You got
we had
food,
rice.
You got more.
Stuff.
You got more rewards. You have more time in between to hunt or fish. Like whereas, and I'm not using this as an excuse for 26, but it's just the reality of the situation. It's like they're losing their weight faster than in the 39-day season because like you can clearly see how little people are eating. Liz is just an extreme version. Yeah. The fact that she's moving at all, like I say it week in, week out on this podcast, I'm like, that part astounds me because I'm just like, if you are truly just like at most only having water, like you shouldn't have even any bit of energy to do a bit of this challenge.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's freaking crazy, dude. So yeah, this Applebee's reward is if you're out there, any kind of food reward, especially like we just said in this 26-day format where they're not really getting squat, there's a lot at stake here. So if you want to kind of explain how this challenge works.
Sure. You go through a bunch of obstacles to then get a bunch of sandbags that you then have to throw into a net tunnel that you then have to bump the net tunnel to get all of them out. But don't worry, you won't be using any of those sandbags because you then have to untie a different sandbag and then go underneath a net that has a bunch of weighted big sandbags blocking your path to then untie the sandbag and throw the sandbag within that sandbag onto the little podium.
Yes. Now, it's all about the sandbags. And one thing I found funny is when Jeff's talking about all the food, there's going to be, mozzarella sticks and boneless wings. And he talks about some sort of alcohol drink, and that's like Venus didn't give a shit.
The Shark Bowl. The Shark Bowl.
Yeah. Venus didn't give a shit until she heard Shark Bowl and was like, ooh, like her eyes lit up.
Oh,
like,
you said rum? Yeah. Alcohol? Yes.
Venus is so small, dude. Like, she is so tiny and skinny. It's like she needs food bad, just like Liz does. But it doesn't matter because she's always just wanting that alcohol. But so Q ends up being in the lead in this challenge. And Liz is in dead last, but Liz makes some funny just comments like, I want that burger. So she says some shit while she's in the middle of doing stuff. But Q ends up winning. At first I was like, oh my God, is Liz going to come back from behind?
Yeah, because she gets that first shot. She gets that first shot and it almost lands. I'm like,
I know.
Oh, that's just so Survivor if this woman ends up winning the Applebee's.
Dude, that's
like their wet dream right now is the person who can't live without Applebee's on a weekly basis wins the Applebee's reward.
I know. I would have loved that. I truly would have. But at the end of the day, Q wins. And here's the deal. Jeff pulls him aside. Congrats, Q. You're going on the Applebee's feast at the sanctuary. It's an overnight excursion. And he gets to choose one person. So the first person he chooses is Tiff. And then, of course, as a viewer, I'm like, oh, he's going to be able to choose someone else. So he ends up choosing Maria because Maria was one person who kind of checked on Q after stuff went down and kind of made sure Q's doing okay. And then finally he gets one more person. And Liz is absolutely begging at this point about, please, 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 dear God, let me win this shot with Q to pick me for this reward. And like a boss, like a gangster, like a cutthroat villain, Q does not. He ends up bringing Kenzie. So I feel that Q really, at the end of the day, doesn't have any loyalty to Liz.
No, he has nothing to lose.
So who cares?
He has nothing to lose. He understands. See, people will call it Q delusional. Yep. I would say more egotistical, and that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing to be egotistical and being on reality TV because that's entertainment. But he knows the game sense of I know my predicament in the game. I'm sort of at the whims of others. So why not pool the people that I think have the most say?
Oh, yeah.
And see if something can happen. Because at worst case scenario, I have to win immunity. Fate's still in my hands. Yeah. But it's what you said. It's you have to bring the Yanu people back together. That's remake the bed, as he said. Maria has been doing that social work with him for days now. And if I was the other four people, that's more the thing that I would be looking at rather than, he picked Kenzie over Liz or Tiffany over Liz. It's why did you pick Maria? And then start thinking a little more.
Right. And so Kyle Dorr just says, but two of those three people he burned horribly. And I agree. And I will say this. I don't think that Q necessarily had some major plan going into this choosing of people. I think that, he did it because he thought, I want to get the original, tribe people back together and see what he can do. But I don't know. I don't feel like there was a whole lot besides that going into his choices. You know?
No,
what I mean?
Ultimately, I feel like these were the people. Kenzie, he knows. He always saw as someone he could vote out or was a threat to him. But Tiffany and Maria were both in the 6.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's just going back to the things that you're more comfortable with, even if you've burned them. It's like, in his mind, it doesn't matter. You bring the people that you feel, in some sense, you should be able to put some more trust into, or make them believe in you a little more, and giving them a lot of food. Hey, that's a good start.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of worked out, really.
For one.
She was still in the game for at least an episode. So after Q chooses people, Jeff Probst asks Liz, "How are you feeling right now?" And this is where she completely went crazy bananas off the handle, which I love. We don't see a lot of meltdowns to this extent. I mean, there was a big meltdown on Survivor Caramoan when Brandon Hance kind of flew off the handle, and we saw him like throwing out rice and going crazy on Philip Shepard. But dude, a lot of emotions are involved on Survivor, especially when you're sleep deprived, starving, and this is where Liz, it was like so close to maybe being picked, and she's not, and it was just she just lost it. And so I can't blame her. I don't know why she really kind of apologized to Q after the fact.
It was a fake apology, though.
It true. but yeah, I mean, it's just like, I was just like, look, you didn't get chosen. I mean, you voted Q before, like, he doesn't owe anything to you. And, it's not his fault that you're allergic to everything on the show. And it is what it is. You can't just pick somebody because, you don't want to hurt their feelings. And you would never be able to pick anybody.
I'm going to pick the people that I think if I'm on the bottom, that I think will be the most likely people that I have one-on-one time with to try to sway. Yeah. I'm not trying to sway Liz.
No.
And no one's trying to sway Liz until it's useful for them to have her as a final vote to put in their plan. Like, that's the issue for her, is no one wants her in the plan. They didn't want her in this plan tonight.
Yeah.
But they had to have her in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and this I'm also, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, so we know that, like, people go back to camp empty-handed, which always sucks. Anytime someone's at a food reward this deep into a game, the people at the reward are going to be on cloud nine. Obviously, we see them not even able to finish their food because they're so full.
And honestly, that's the most real thing I've ever seen. I never understood how people could eat as much in rewards that I would see in the past. Because I was just like, what Maria says, what I always think about is, like, you don't eat for a while. And, like, it's not that your stomach shrinks, but it's like your body doesn't know how to take that much food.
Like, yeah.
It's where you get those medevacs. Like in Code Wrong, it was like that dude very late in the game, like the old guy, Joe.
Yeah.
I think it was like, Joe Del Campo. There we go.
Yeah.
He like went out because he finally got to have a reward, and it was a bunch of meat, like a lot of meat.
Yeah.
And then he got constipated and had to get taken out of the game. It's like, that's the thing that I always fear in those. I'm like, I'm like, what do I choose to eat of all the stuff that you bring in? Because I'm not going to eat all of it.
Yeah, I mean, my theory would be, if I'm out there and I see all this food and I know that my body has not had a lot of food for a long time, I would ease myself into it. I don't think I would just start, shoving everything in sight down my throat, because, you like your body, like you said, gets used to less food. So I would probably have just took like 1 or 2 bites of chicken wings, and then maybe like a couple chips and dip.
Right.
And then, there's no way that I could have eaten that huge, massive, whatever burger they're talking about.
Oh, and I hate mushrooms. So like I can't stand mushrooms. So I'm like, oh, that burger's not appetizing at all to me. But also, it's just like, the red meat of it all. It's like you're not eating anything, then suddenly you eat a bunch of red meat, you eat cheese, processed food. It's like you're gonna have the runs for like
that would not be
hours.
Fun. Yeah, you would not. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, like I said before, that people get very sick and ill and even medevac because they have gone from eating nothing to feasting on Applebee's food. So
because there was like a reward challenge. It was either last season or 2 seasons ago where it was literally just a rotisserie chicken and everyone was like shitting on it. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, that's sort of like the perfect reward. That's sort of like just get me some water or like a refreshment, like maybe some lemonade or something, and then just put a rotisserie chicken in front of me. I'm like, oh that's perfect.
That sounds good. So so we go let me see to the reward at the sanctuary. Everyone's drinking the blue shark or whatever, the blue margarita looking drink. So Tiff, Kenzie, Q, and Maria just eating, and it all seemed kind of kumbaya for a bit because everyone, when you're breaking bread together and having this fun reward, yes, there's some camaraderie going on, but then at the end of the day, Q ends up walking away. It's, hey, we want to vet out Q. And at this point, Q's not even trying to really do anything to like do damage control. I feel like he thinks that just by inviting these people on the reward gives him some brownie points, I guess, but it really doesn't.
I loved Kenzie during this. She's like that really horrible boyfriend you have where he thinks that just buying you a dinner resolves all of the issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's like, this is going to take a little more to woo me. And they keep bringing out this food. And Kenzie looks at the burger and she's like, oh, this burger is like really big and really moist. And it brought back memories because when I was on Caramoan, we would joke around about the word moist. Like, everyone hates that word. I think moist is a pretty much one of those words that I would think the majority of people that hear it hate it. So I'm going to say it one more time.
See, I love the word moist. I'm here to trigger people that are listening to this right now. Like, you're gonna have a moist burger, but I just can't put it in me right now. But I agree with Kenzie though. It's like it would take a lot more than Applebee's to really resolve any issues with me. Like you need to bring me somewhere nicer than Applebee's.
Oh yes. So after everyone's kind of at the reward, it cuts and it's edited back to camp where Liz is trying to make fire with the machete, and she starts crying, and she's going through this emotional moment because she's so defeated because she knows that everyone else is at the Applebee's reward, probably trying to eat her favorite burger, and she can't even get this measly little fire going. And she's just extremely bummed. But at this point, I was kind of like looking at my wife, Tessa. I'm like, the storyline of this Applebee's thing has been going on for like 30 minutes. I'm kind of ready to like move on from the Liz, sob story of the Applebee's deal and stuff like that. I'm kind of like, that's the only thing that really gave Liz any airtime tonight was this whole Applebee's moment. And while I say it made for entertaining television up to a point, and I was kind of like, let's move on.
Yeah. It's and this is where it's like one of those episodes where it's like, you didn't need this to be like a full 60-minute and ads episode. Right. It was like, because at some point you just start getting a little repetitive with the same taglines there. The same issue is just being rehashed by her in all of her confessionals. And you know what? Maybe that's all she gave them. But they were like, okay, this is the Applebee's episode. Let's keep putting it in. Each time they hear Applebee's, we get more money. So let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, if I'm Applebee's, if I'm the marketing person for Applebee's and I just spent $1 million to do this. I'm excited. I feel like that they got their money's worth.
Oh, I give Survivor another $1 million. I'm like, you literally have this woman going insane over the fact that she doesn't get to have our shitty food.
Yeah, I love it. So back at the reward, Q he does walk away to just like go down the beach or swim or whatever, and you have the women that are there, and they are immediately like Tiff and Kenzie saying Q has to go. But look, Maria says Q is a number and can really help out my game, but depending on how this plays out, since Kenzie and Tiff are so hell bent on Q, it may be a time for Q to go, right? And this is right before a commercial break.
Yeah, it's before the commercial break and them coming back from it. And it's the right approach to have if you're Maria. It's like, have your plan, don't push it, but know that, okay, let me gauge the other people when we get back, because we already have 2 people that are against it. We know Liz wants him gone. Venus probably wants him gone. So, like, if Ben isn't on board, then we have to call it. We can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we sort of see when they all get back from the reward. But it does start off with my favorite part of Liz having to find out that nobody touched her favorite burger.
I know. She's pissed. She's just sitting there like looking around like, oh God, like it burns me up that they didn't even get to freaking try it. But look, it's what are you supposed to do? Like not eat the first part of the reward and wait for the burger?
I think partially Survivor production was in on it, and they're like, we're gonna make sure this burger comes in last and after like a good amount of time, so that like the other food you're eating is like starting to settle and your stomach's starting to really understand that you're full. And and here's the burger.
Yeah. Yeah, that is funny. It did make for great TV. Yeah, she's pissed. But the entire episode, is literally Liz, freaking out over food. She ends up apologizing to Q about her freak out moment, and she wants to vote him out. And then we see, Q is not ashamed of who he chose. He's like, look, I can choose who I want. And he even says in the confessional, you can keep your apology. I don't give a shit about your apology. Keep it.
I'm just hearing.
Like that.
I love that. I'm hearing Q speak though. So in my head, he's like, she chose to apologize to me. Big mistake.
Yeah.
You can have your apology.
Well, then, after he said he can keep the apology, Charlie and Maria, we see them talking. Charlie says it should be Tiff, but a lot of people want Q out. But Charlie is, basically saying, like, look, going into this immunity challenge, the thing that we absolutely need to make sure of is that Tiff and Q do not win immunity, because that opens up the possibility of either A, the easy route, voting Q, or B, trying to blindside Tiff, even though she has this idol.
Mm-hmm.
So good on Charlie and the Charlie Maria combination. I'm excited about, because honestly speaking, right now in the game, Alex, when we're looking at Q, this is just Matt Bischoff's opinion. Q, no chance of winning. Liz, no chance of winning. Ben, I feel, is not getting the airtime or the edit at all to win. And seeing people that are on the jury right now and potential future jury people, I don't think Ben has a chance of winning. I think the 3 players that, obviously have the best chance right now are Kenzie and Maria.
Charlie and Maria.
And Charlie. Yes.
I agree.
And honestly, out of all those people, I think Charlie has a really good chance of winning the game at this point. I don't think Venus has. She was my winner pick, but I don't think Venus is doing enough. I think
and the jury doesn't like her, and the players on the beach don't like her for whatever reason.
I know. So I don't know.
So I've been like pitching this idea to people of what I think the end game's gonna look like. Because I'm like now, especially with Charlie winning the second immunity in a row, I think he's gonna fall into a similar trap of Hunter, where the second he does not win immunity, there will be people now starting to think, now do I take Charlie out? Take him out now while he's vulnerable. There's no idols in play. Let's take him out. Kenzie, while people are going to think is in a very dangerous spot, I figure a lot of people have her in plans of like, oh, we'll bring her to 4 because she can't win anything. And then if we want to be a final 3 or whatever, like if Siga wants to be a final 3 and they're like, oh, we'll bring Kenzie along because we know Kenzie won't win final 4 immunity. They'll just be like, oh, we'll put Kenzie in the fire. But I'm still holding on to beginning of the season. We saw Kenzie make fire almost effortlessly as soon as they got Flint. And I'm like, maybe she's destined to get the final 4 and win fire making. And that's how she gets to the end. And then through her social game plus that, she wins this season.
Yeah, I would be totally happy with a Kenzie win.
But I could see Charlie. I would be very satisfied with a Charlie win.
Me too.
With an episode like tonight and just being like a power maker here, a power player. Like Maria gained some stock back after some episodes where we were all like, I don't know what she's planning, what she's doing here. This episode helped like put a full line and know when she wants something done, she goes in, she's proactive. She's like, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm doing it. And for her, tonight's move was great. For now.
For now. Now we go to the immunity challenge. And basically this challenge is simple. You hold on to a handle that's attached to a rope holding a bucket of 25% of your pre-game weight that you were, not the weight that they are now after they lost weight, but this is the pre-game weight when they weighed in, which is, can be a significant amount of weight to be holding. And then Jeff offers a deal. Jeff says, look, if people want to step out, he's got this big bag of rice. He's trying to get 4 people to step out to not participate in the challenge. The only person that originally steps out is Kenzie. Then Jeff proposes a little glass jar of personal ration of rice and says, look, if only one of you wants to, step out for this is your own personal thing of rice, which Kenzie ends up stepping back saying, I'll participate in the challenge. And Liz ends up sitting out of the challenge for this rice. Liz obviously is not allergic to rice because she chose to deny her chance of winning immunity for this rice. So it does prove that she is very starved and she needs the food. So good for you, Liz.
If you're not winning and you have no energy because you're not eating, take that damn rice and move.
Yeah. And that's what she did. So she's smart for doing that.
Because like you have Venus. Like Venus should have not competed. Like
no.
She started
immediately.
But like I'm glad she did because it was funny. It was funny. Like the game starts and within seconds she's like, oh, I have no grip strength here. Bye.
Yeah. And we learned through this challenge that Gabler lasted 38 minutes in this challenge. Yep. So this must have been the challenge where he's saying, I'm doing it for so-and-so and I'm doing it for
it was every minute he did a tribute to somebody or to a state or whatever.
And I will say something. I want to say this on the podcast, on the public side of the podcast. Myself and probably you and others, we always gave Gabler kind of a shit end of the stick when we were podcasting about his season. I've never met Gabler, but I can tell you this. I spent some time with King George, obviously, at my house. King George has been to Gabler's house, and we talked in depth about Gabler, and King George said nothing but amazing things about
I've only heard good things about Gabler for anyone who's seen him at like a live viewing party or an event. Like only I've heard positive things about him.
So I just want to say, if this ever gets back to Gabler, I want to meet you, dude. I'm sure you rule. You love metal. You love tattoos. I realize that you have a killer career, so that giving up the money to charity that you wanted to do, that's an honorable thing. Podcasting about it in the moment, it was, our emotions and stuff's running high. I don't really apologize. Like I didn't say anything hateful, and it's just a reaction, right? So
Yeah,
our reactions are our reactions, and the way I felt at the time was the way I felt.
for sure.
But I will say that I heard Gabler's a really good guy, and I would love to
Mhm.
like meet Gabler and hang out with Gabler.
I did have an issue with this challenge though, and it's something
Okay.
that I hope someone on Prod does listen to this because I think they need to make an adjustment here. Not to like make the game shorter, but I don't think you should be allowed to do an overhand underhand grip.
Yeah,
I think
who was doing that?
Maria and Charlie, and I think
Okay.
Charlie doing that briefly also helped him be able to last a little longer. I think it should always be as if you're riding a bike. As if Matt Bischoff was riding his BMX motorcycles, it's like
well, I don't ride motorcycles. I would ride BMX bikes.
Sorry.
No motors on
no
them.
motorcycles.
But I agree with you.
It should be overhand the entire time. If you're adjusting overhand.
Yeah.
And because it is about grip strength, like Charlie's 100% right. It's 100% grip strength, forearm strength, and from there, can you hold it for that long? It's like that's what it is. And I think if you're having time to be able to adjust and use that, like you're using different muscle groups and you're making it easier for contestants to last longer. When I'm like, you should make this a how bad do you want it? You're in this position. Like everyone should have been like Tiffany, where you can bend down, like you can go and sit down or like find your position, but overhand and you ain't moving those hands into a different position.
Do you think Dan would be real, since Dan is single and ready to mingle and spends a lot of time in his apartment by himself, that he has like really good grip strength on poles?
He's been playing a lot of tennis also.
So
you gotta grip that. You gotta grip that racket.
Yeah, Dan would probably do really good at this challenge. But I will say, Gabler did this for 38 minutes. Q ends up dropping. They did the slow motion effect. At first, I thought, damn, did this challenge break at first?
Right.
Like, could it just like kind of unraveled? I was like, well, I guess that's what it does. So Tiff ends up dropping out of nowhere. She was looking strong the whole time. Charlie wins. And then we see Charlie talk about in a confessional, he trained for 2 years on grip strength. Now, I will say that is cool. It paid off, and he said it paid off. And I like, honestly, the statement of him talking about practicing grip strength better than Carson talking about all the challenges.
But yeah, because it's like, and I think there's more of an appreciation for how do you prep yourself for the physical aspects of the game.
Yes.
And like doing just like dead hangs on a bar, or like using like the I even have some of those grip those grip weights that you just use to like work on like those tensions to strengthen your grip and strengthen your forearms. Like I bring them to the office and I use them. Like they're useful. And like so I applaud anyone who, for the physical components of the game, do the work that's necessary for these specific type of challenges that you see come up. Because I think to a certain extent, the people that they bring onto these shows, I think a lot of people can memorize a puzzle. Mm-hmm. Not everyone puts in the work and the time to like be ready for the physical shit that eventually will come, because the puzzles are great at the beginning.
Yeah.
The back half of these seasons are mainly balancing and grip strength style comps.
Yeah, endurance. Yep.
Yeah. With some puzzles in there in between, but mainly it's dexterity, it's endurance, it's grip strength.
Yes, totally. So after the challenge, everyone's walking back to camp. Tiff is like, I want Q gone. Tiff knows that Q is, on the chopping block. And she even says here, it's another foreshadowing, like making a bet about not playing her idol. I'm like thinking to myself, stupid move.
I wrote she's
so
going
dumb.
home.
Oh yeah, it's like the whole when you literally sit back and watch this episode again.
It's a car crash.
Yeah. Oh God, it is.
You know it's happening, but you
know.
can't. You like the car crash has already happened. You're driving past it, but you know you have to rubberneck. You're like, why is everyone driving so slow?
I know.
I need to be able to move. It's just a car accident. We all got rubberneck. We all got cheat seat. Just how bad is this accident that is about to happen?
Oh yeah. And we even have Kyle Dorr in the chat saying,
Period.
You think she would have known after seeing Hunter leave with an idol?
They literally talk about it at the beginning of the episode. Like Venus is saying, like, no, like the reason why Hunter goes is because he got cocky and thought he could hold on to it for one more round. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you're Tiffany, like, receive this information. Mm-hmm. Really bring that information in because, like, that's you. You know that all these people know that you have
the idol. Yeah. So future players look at what Kyle Dorr says. Hunter going home with an idol. Tiff going home with an idol. Do not do that because
Bruce
I feel
last season.
Yeah, it's great. People are going nuts doing this. If you play Survivor, if you're a new era player, don't make these same mistakes that these people are making. You can find another idol, right?
Yeah.
Like you can literally find it again.
Yeah. So like I'm going to shout out a friend of Johnny's, another podcast, Phil from The Specialists.
Yes.
He mentioned something this past week about how people who find idols shouldn't be afraid to play the idol because at this point in time, you have an advantage over the field because you know now what production's doing this season to hide idols.
Yeah.
So you now have an advantage over everyone else. So play the idol as soon as you are vulnerable and you feel any inkling at all that things may not go your way, play it and you can be the first one searching because you have the best chance of finding it again. We've seen it's a tale as old as time, like Russell finding multiple idols, Parvati finding multiple idols. Like we have these people who find multiple idols. Ben from 35 is like because they understand what production's doing to hide them for their season. Play the idol. There's no point. You don't win $1 million by being greedy. Greedy will send you home.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, Tip was not even in a spot to where, like, if she played the idol and then it goes back in play, Q could have been the next person gone. Like, I just don't understand why she didn't play it.
It's back to back weeks where you're just like, I don't understand how. And it's like Hunter put the blame on Tiffany and Kenzie were just so good about reassuring me. And like Tiffany yelling at Q at Tribal really made me think I didn't need to play. I'm like, no, play the fucking idol.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And I don't like, I try my best not to curse on this podcast, but I'm like, just be smart.
Yeah.
Be smart because I know you're smart. Like I know Tiffany's smart. I know Hunter's smart. You got
and I like Tiffany. Like I thought she was a badass. I was like,
bring her back.
I love a blindside, but I'm also sad to see her go because I think she freaking rules, dude. Like I love her. But I will say, everyone here is kind of talking about Q so much that it's giving Tiff this confidence that I don't need to play my idol. I'm going to gamble. But here's the problem. Ben and Maria and Charlie start talking about blindsiding Tiff, but they don't want to tell Kenzie. And it's all contingent on getting Liz on board. And you have Liz who is pissed off and threw that conniption fit about Q not bringing her to the Applebee's reward. So it's like, you're like, as a viewer, shit, is Liz going to go with her heart or her gut? Like, what is she going to do? Because she obviously wants Q out because she hates him so bad. But I hated Shamar in this in the realm of Survivor. I don't hate Shamar.
Yes.
Out there, I couldn't stand him. However, I was fine at the time with having Shamar stay in the game in order to get other threats out, because I know that we could have gotten Shamar out at any time because he was checked out. No one cares. And he could have, he would never win the game. So the fact that, Liz did make the right decision tonight.
Well,
and going into tribal, you have this, is it going to be Q or is it going to be Tiff? And I'm thinking to myself, Tiff, if you don't play your idol,
you're going home.
Pretty damn ignorant. Yeah. And you're going home. And, tribal council walking in. Kenzie burns her hair on the torch. She smells the great smell of singed red hair. And Jeff's like, "Did you just burn your hair?" She's like, "Yeah, I think I did." God!
But I want to break down Liz's thing here because
I
don't think she made the right move. I mentioned the first part of it of being like, you're just showing you're a follower. You're not someone who's proactive and changing the game. Sure, you didn't vote for the person that you hate. Yeah. Cool for you. Everyone does that. That's not a big, bold move. I didn't vote out the person who didn't give me Applebee's in this moment that I have with my child. Like, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one on that jury cares.
Yeah.
What you should have done, and this is just me with my, I just think of these things. It's just like in real time, I'm like, you're hearing this from Maria. You're feeling a type of way about it because you're like, oh, she's clearly trying to do something to prop up the jury for her.
Mm-hmm.
You have been very concerned about having the jury want to look at you. So what I would have done is, if I'm Liz, I go to Tiffany. Like 10 minutes before tribal council. And I tell her, the vote is you. They all want you gone. We should take out Maria. You will need to play your idol, or you will go home. You, me, Kenzie, vote Maria. Maria goes home.
That's pretty badass thinking there. That is
but
a move.
This is me, well fed. This is well.
Oh yeah, that's a huge resume builder for Liz. The idol is flushed, right?
And a big threat that no one is like truly looking at in the pair of Maria and Charlie.
Oh, Charlie's game just took a major hit if that happens.
Yeah, like Charlie's now like not in a horrible spot, but he's now leaning into the Q thing of like, now I'm going to need to start winning more and keep winning to stay safe instead of like, I have all these crutches around me.
Yeah. Wow. Phenomenal. That's the beauty of like listening to a podcast and hearing the theories and the what ifs and the good moves, the bad moves. That would have been great. At the end of the day, this whole tribal council was like Jeff talking about blindside and what if this? And I was like, wow, if this isn't a red flag for Tiffany to be
right.
Like, I don't know what is, dude.
It's literally back-to-back weeks where things are being said, and whether by Jeff or by people around you, that I'm like, if everyone is hyping up the fact that, Q is just going home, I'm sorry, paranoia is kicking in for me. Like,
that's a red flag.
I would rather play my idol and look like an idiot for playing my idol than look like a bigger idiot for going home with the idol in my pocket because I decided to be too confident.
Yeah, because she's not going to look that much of an idiot, because if Tiff plays the idol and no one wrote her name down, she's just like, well, everyone,
she can play it off.
I wanted it out of my hair anyways. Yeah. You guys all knew about it. It was just causing just me insecurities. So I'm glad that it's out of here. So, it's just bad move on Tiff's part. I would like to, hear her thoughts on why.
Same. I want to hear her reason. And if it's just that she got overconfident, then it is what it is, and she just got overconfident, was blinded by the fact that she just believed that everyone would be just good with a Q vote. And I feel like she does own the fact a little bit. Like, I am feeling a little bit selfish. I do want to see if I can hold on to it one more time. And you know what? She talked about Q play, like, it's that whole Greek thing of like, you flew too close to the sun, you lost your wings. She flew too close to the sun with that idol, and it burned her.
She did. So Tiffany, you're out. I love you. I've loved watching you play the game. I would like to see you, out of these post season 40 players. I would like to see you at least in the
mix,
in the running for getting a phone call from production to maybe play again. And I don't think you would make the same mistake twice as far as playing an idol. You'd be playing an idol.
See, you asked me about Q. You asked me about Q at the beginning of the podcast. Tiffany is definitely someone who I think plays a little bit differently a second time around. And I don't even think she needs to make big changes. It's little things here and there, because I think the components of a really good player are already there.
Yeah.
It's just a little tiny things.
Yeah.
And I think she could do that.
Oh, yeah. But overall, aside from the 60-minute portion of an Applebee's commercial, I was thoroughly entertained by this episode. I loved Liz's freak out moment breakdown. I thought it was funny. I'm not making fun of somebody for having like a, just a freak out moment, but what I enjoy about it and what I was entertained by is I like the fact that she freaking laid into Q. That's the true human emotion that happens when you're playing Survivor. You're aggravated, you're pissed, the stakes are high, and when you're tired and you're sleep deprived, this is what it comes down to. And so, Liz, you have every right to have freaked out. You gave your fake apology. I love it. I love the fact that Q did not choose you to go to the Applebee's reward. And Tiff should have played your idol, but you didn't. But Alex, super fun episode. I mean, these past few have been killer. I've been extremely excited, especially when we're doing a podcast. We're watching a 90-minute episode, and we're then podcasting immediately after, like later at night. And it's just been such a breath of fresh air to be excited about this season that I thought was not so great early on.
It feels good to be vindicated when I'm like, we just gotta get through the pre-merge. Once we get past the pre-merge, the game will actually get good.
I know, and it has. So I'm pumped. Johnny Fairplay and King George were in Charlottesville with Dan and a bunch of other fans tonight at a viewing party. If you want to see Johnny Fairplay and King George live in person, there's a couple more left this season. Go to survivortix.com, survivortix.com. And if you love the podcast, want to support it, the best way to do that is to become a patron, realitypatron.com. And what we do is we have a secret Facebook group. It's an awesome community. We also do a weekly Q&A, which is my favorite podcast that we do. Johnny Fairplay tells all the inside secrets and scoops of not only Survivor, but when he was on House of Villains, upcoming potential deals he's doing. It's a lot of fun. And realitypatron.com. If you don't like it, try it for a month for $5 or whatever it is. And if you don't like it, Johnny will just give you your money back or just cancel the next month. But it literally is Reality After Show is a labor of love for all of us. And if crossing fingers, if things go well, we have a lot of crazy stuff in the works for the Reality After Show. Can't really say anything about it now. However, there could be some really awesome stuff happening. More podcasts, more content, just more people involved to bring you the best possible podcast for all the shows that we love. Some of the, you guys do the challenge, you and Dan, and we do Survivor. And then there's, Big Brother, all these different shows. So we love it. Alex, thank you very much. Fun as always. And without you listeners, listen, we love you all. We're in this because of the love of Survivor. I don't know about you, but after that, seeing that Applebee's, dude, I might have to hit up Applebee's and try one of them burgers and take a selfie eating that thing just so I can.
Unfortunately, the one near me closed because it got no business.
Well,
so I'll live through you, Matt.
Okay, well, I might be trying one of those burgers here very soon. So we love you. We will see you next week on another episode of Survivor Season 46. Cheers, everyone, and good night later.